From the Coalition of Concerned Families of the Philippines, Attorney Lyndon Caña, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. First of all, we would like to enter into the records our profuse thanks for giving us a hearing today. This is the position of the Coalition of Concerned Families of the Philippines on the Sogie bill, and we have a delegation coming from Davao who are here, and resource persons, including persons who used to subscribe to and practice the homosexual lifestyle before. We have a representative from the Christian broadcasting sector, a psychoanalyst, and okay. My flicker is okay. Madam Chair, we would like first to say that we do not hate the LGBT community. We do not condone any form of bashing, bullying, or disrespect for them. We categorically state that they are human beings, they are persons. They are entitled to respect. And having said that, we, however, have the strongest reservations or concerns or opposition to the Sogie bill. And I hope that it will not be misconstrued as hatred for the LGBT community. As briefly and as quickly as we can state, we state the following grounds for our concern and opposition.
Yes, please, Attorney, because may I also remind all resource persons here this morning, if we can stick to within 3 minutes, because we have to hear a lot of people. But proceed, Attorney Lyndon.
Wow. I will have to be very fast. I'll just...
Also, may I recognize the presence of of Senator Nancy Binay, who was also asking if we could have a copy of the presentation, Attorney Lyndon,
okay,
even after you present it. Please proceed.
Okay. As fast as I can, Madam Chair, because the technical is not cooperating with the presentation. Our first point of concern is on the concept of the bill itself, on the scope and the title itself. Then we have very serious concerns on the specific provisions. First, on the scope. The bill is entitled An Act Against Anti-Discrimination on the basis of Sogie. Immediately, Madam Chair, there is exclusion or non-mention of the other sector immediately affected by the bill. It is immediately a one-sided bill, which is supposed to be anti-discrimination. Second, the bill itself is based on feelings, Madam Chair. The title itself shows the nature of the basis for the proposed legislation. Sexual orientation, that is subjective. Gender identity, that is subjective. Versus later on, rights that come from facts. So there is a contest here between facts and feelings. And we are very concerned that it appears that under Sogie bill, facts will be defeated by feelings. For example, the definition of gender identity. The proposed bill itself defines it as a personal sense. Personal. Sa'yo lang. Sense. It's not a fact, it's a feeling, it's a disposition. Among others, characterized by manner of clothing, inclinations, behavior, all subjective. And it goes on to say that a person may have male or female identity with the physiological characteristics of the opposite sex. Here, just by reading the plain text of the bill itself, si physiological fact, talo sa kay personal sense. Because ang mangibabaw, yung personal sense, which is subjective and is given more premium than fact. We are very concerned that in this concept of the bill, where fact will yield to feelings, na criminalize pa yung mga maninindigan based on fact. For example, mag-insist to a transgender woman, with all due respect, sir, my conscience tells me that you are really a man, no matter what medical procedure you went through. Sa Sogie Bill, patay siya, Your Honor. Kasi gender identity can overrule physiological characteristics. In fact, my ruling dyan na the actual sex of the person in the sizing up of discrimination is not relevant to the determination of whether a discriminatory act has been committed or not. So we say that gender identity is not based on fact because there have been numerous studies that there is no gay gene, and there is a recent study involving 470,000 volunteers made by a group of top-notch researchers, and the conclusion is there is no such thing as a gay gene because it is all a complex interplay of experience, expectancy, peer environment, etc., etc. Very, very subjective. Contest to gender, which is male, female, anatomically established, biologically established, physiologically established. But in a collision of viewpoints, mag-yield si fact sa kay feeling. And we find this with all due and greatest respect, Madam Chair, nadidisturb po kami sa implication nito ng concept. So, gender is a biological, physiological fact. Gender identity is feeling. Sex, as to whether male or female, is fact. Sexual orientation is feeling. But in the hierarchy of values under Sogie Bill, talo si fact sa kay feeling. In Section 3A, in relation with Section 3C of all the bills here, subject of the hearing, my direct declaration that the actual sex of the person concerned shall not be relevant for the purpose of determining whether an act of discrimination has been committed. Grabe po ito ang implication. I cannot point to a fact to say, excuse me, sir, you're really still a male by my understanding. No matter what procedure went through, I'm basing my attitude towards you based on fact. But the bill says, no, the actual sex is not relevant. Delikado po ito, with all due and very great respect, Madam Chair, naninervyos po kami sa implication ito ng provision ng bill. And the crime of discrimination is punished horrendously. 500,000, 6 to 12 years by a person who will insist on fact versus a person who insists on a set of rights based on feelings. Grabe po, Madam Chair. For example, classic illustration, the recent case of the mall incident. Nothing personal for the persons involved, but this is Exhibit A of contest between fact and feeling. Kasi po, women are women. That's a fact. The toilet involved in the incident was a toilet for women. That is a fact. Now here comes a man who became a woman without judicial order declaring her to have become a woman, just saying so that she is now a woman, insisting that she is entitled to access to the women's CR. And now, everybody for the bill is saying, ipas na ang Sogie Bill kasi kawawa ang transgender woman concerned. That to us is illustrative of the defeat of fact versus feeling that is enshrined in the Sogie Bill. For example, if we call Representative Geraldine Roman, the most famous transgender woman in the country, being a member of Congress, and we say, Congressman, sir, delikado kami sa stigma, Section 3F. Delikado kami sa verbal harassment, Section 3J of the bill. Kasi mag-feel siya na ini-insulto siya. Hindi siya nirirespeto. And yung aming defense, Congressman, we are basing it on fact. Okay. Anong fact dito? There is a principle in criminal law that truth is a defense in libel. But in Sogie, hindi na magiging defense ang truth. Kasi ang bill itself nagsabi, the actual sex is not relevant to the determination of whether discrimination has been committed or not. Kasi mas mangibabaw ang personal sense of identity more than physiological characteristics. And not even a Supreme Court decision will come to the rescue of the offender. In the landmark case of Romel Jacinto Dantes Silverio versus of the Republic of the Philippines, the Supreme Court defined a female and male based on a long history of jurisprudence. Female is the sex that produces ova or bears a young. Male is the sex that has organs to produce spermatozoa for fertilizing ova. Now, this is not my words. This is the word of the Supreme Court. The words male and female in everyday understanding do not include persons who have undergone sex reassignment. That is part of the law of the land, decision ng Supreme Court. Even if we cite that, patay kami pa rin sa Sogie. Kasi hindi na importante yung truth by declared policy of the law. Ito pa po sa Supreme Court decision na yan, yung petition dito sa Silverio versus Republic of the Philippines is a petition for change of name based on change of gender. I'd like just to illustrate, Madam Chair, with your kindest indulgence, kasi very crucial na legal point ito. Sabi ng Supreme Court, a change of name based on a change of gender is not a right. It's not a right. It is a privilege that a court has to look into. There has got to be a judicial order. There is no mention of a judicial order in Sogie that will declare that a man has ceased to become a man and now has become a woman. The basis for this is the Civil Code provision that all entries in the civil register shall be corrected only by a judicial order. And ano yung mga entry under
Attorney
Article
Lyndon,
407?
if you could, sir, could you wrap up within 2 minutes? Actually, we are already over 3 minutes anyway, but I'll give you 2 minutes more so that we can move on to our many other resource persons as well. Thank you, sir.
Madam Chair, because lack of time, we are manifesting that we will submit a written discussion of our points. But let me finish with the remaining time.
Attorney Caña, Madam Chair, baka pwede
Yes,
makakuha na ho kami ng
Sure,
kopya
sure.
para kahit hindi pa ho natatapos yung presentation nyo, we could already go through it and ask you questions.
Okay.
Baka during the course of the hearing, maitatanong ko na rin yung mga points na gusto nyong i-raise.
Yes, we will gladly do so. Okay, so under Article 408 of the Civil Code, ang entry sa birth in relation to Act 3753 Civil Register Law mentions the declaration of the sex of the person concerned. That is under. Now, you cannot change it without a court order. Under Sogie, all you will insist on is your personal sense, personal, without judicial order. This is earth-shaking, Madam Chair, legally earth-shaking, and the male and female cannot just be declared by a simple say-so. It has got to be a judicial process. So my implications sa government records, my implications sa peace and order, national security, what if a crime is committed by a male and then went through the rights under Sogie, hindi na siya female, a reasonable doubt is created, dismiss ang case, kasi sabi ng witness male, ngayon ang accused is female na siya. What is the implication with respect to women's rights versus transgender women's rights? What is the implication to the Civil Code and the Family Code? For example, the grounds for legal separation is lesbianism or homosexuality, sexual infidelity, or perversion. Ngayon, re-recognize yung bisexual as gender identity. So a man will say, honey, sorry ka na lang. You can only satisfy one half of my need because my other need is for men also. You're just a woman, but I am bisexual. Anong mangyari ngayon sa mundo nito kung i-recognize na yung bisexuality? What
Thank you,
happens?
Attorney Lyndon. I'm sorry, we have to wrap up for the first presentation so that we can hear also the many other resource persons. But